Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another weekly recap video, sitting about 7 weeks out from the North American Championships here. This week was a deload, and as I've talked about in a couple of my videos earlier this week, mentally I was not ready for a deload. I was excited with the weights that we were rolling through, but physically this week I could tell it was the right call. Just with, knees feeling a little creaky, hips, back, all of that stuff. No injuries, just I could tell the fatigue was built up. So this down week was much appreciated. So as you can see, the pause squats for day one were down to 540 pounds, backed off nice and easy. So happy with how these are moving and kind of got some blood flowing with those. And then the RDLs, the snatch grip RDLs, also were backed off this week to 525. So pretty significant back off. And as I had mentioned last week, I think this day one is one of the most taxing days on me just because of that combination with the pause squats and the RDLs. So to have those backed off, I could definitely feel a difference in just getting recovered from this day for later in the week. So here we are with the RDLs down about 60 pounds, feeling pretty good overall. Lately for my lats, because I do get 2 lat options for my exercises, I have been doing pull downs and cable rows, but I switched to pull downs and pull ups. So this is the first time I've seriously done pull-ups in a little while, so I was happy with that. I think it was 4 sets of 8 with those at about an RP 8. So day one went well overall. Now into day 2 with the bench press. This was doubles at what was supposed to be an RPE 7. I landed around 415 pounds, and as you can see, I think this was maybe a slight undershoot. I was tempted to go up a little bit to maybe 420 or possibly 425 in the session because of how things were feeling. But I just wanted to get that recovery in and set myself up to continue progressing. Because sometimes I find that if I push those things early because I'm feeling good, even on a deload, that kind of pigeonholes me into too heavy of a weight to keep progressing for the following weeks. So I think 415 is a solid base, and this should set us up well to build momentum all the way into North Americans, and hopefully, fingers crossed, hit a bench press PR, which I think will set up for a big total, because it was bench that let me down for nationals. Same thing here with incline press. This was 315 pounds. You could tell I almost threw this first set into my chest because it got stuck on the J cup and I pulled it out too much. But once again with the 315, I could have arguably gone up here, but my shoulders have been one of the places that's holding the most fatigue lately. So I just called it light there, and then next week after this, hopefully we can keep progressing and do well with that movement. Now we're on to day 3. I should mention I had an overnight camp for my school that I was helping out with, the incoming 6th graders, and I was a night counselor, or basically a counselor who stayed overnight for that. So this 3rd session was rushed. And what ends up happening is I was able to do deadlifts and the squats, but essentially because the bench was taken up during this time and I was in a rush, I had to push my tempo bench into day 4, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Overall, the 605 felt nice and light. These deadlifts with the hex bar, for whatever reason, also tend to bring fatigue into especially my hips. So even though I'm trying to pull them as much like a conventional deadlift as I can, I think it's because you just naturally kind of shift back a little bit with the hex bar. So it was nice to have this deload as well. And I think it carried into day 4. So there we go. Set 4 with that 605. And then we finished off with the squat machine, which, if you remember, I had been up to 7 plates on here. Who knows what the actual weight is? I just use a bar weight estimate here. But I backed it off a 1.5 plates just to kind of keep that deload feeling going, get the movement in, and then that'll allow us to build for the next week. And that kind of propels us into day 4 of training. Day 4 was, though it was backed off to 655 for doubles, in the past, this would have been a big squat day. So it has me excited that even the lightest of squat days are now kind of what used to be significant weight. And, you know, my goal here is just to treat it with as much respect as I treated 715 for the doubles last week, just to dial in the form and make sure everything's feeling good. I still could feel like, hey, this was a good week to deload because things were a little bit creaky, but overall I'm happy with how this moved for all of the sets. This is the first set here, and we'll just wait and see. I would probably rate this, I don't know, somewhere at 7. You know, I could have done 5 solid reps with that. If not, and at 6 RPE. Then jumping forward to set 4, I think this moves very similarly to the last set that you saw. I used this week as well to practice not getting caught on the J cups. And I think that's part of just my, whenever I stand it up, sometimes the whip comes back down and I try and take my step as the whip's coming down, and that's when I get caught. So I'm trying to be better about standing up, letting it settle, and then starting my walkout. So hopefully that pays off. There you go. Set 4 arguably looked easier than the first set. So we'll call that an RP 6 to 7, somewhere in there. Very strong. And now we have conventional deadlifts. This was a 4x5. Backed it off as well to 605 pounds. This felt really good. And as you'll see, they moved quite fast. Not a whole lot to say overall with these, other than I feel like we're going to have a big pull coming here in North Americans in August. So, yeah, excited to see where that ramps up. I imagine that we'll start backing off the reps eventually. Who knows when, once the linear periodization with the weight warrants it. But I don't know. 800-pound deadlift might be in danger. I know that's a big ask, but it's definitely on my radar, at least within the next year or so. I think I'll also say the Renaissance periodization dieting app has been great so far. Weight is slowly tracking down as it should be, and I'm still feeling strong, so it's getting in the calories that I need. Here we are on day 4, kind of making up the tempo bench. So it was a 4x5 at 315 pounds, nice and easy. Not a whole lot to say there, but because I threw that tempo bench in, what I ended up doing was not doing the bamboo bar bench work. And part of my reasoning for that was it seems like the least specific of the work. So I kept in this football bar bench because I feel like I get more actually out of this movement than the bamboo bar. And I really contemplated doing 3 bench movements on this day, but by the time I went through this and the accessories that are after this, I was just tired. And I felt like, if anything, there was going to be a chance of me tweaking something with the bamboo bar at the end of the workout. So we just called it there, and that's the first exercise that we've kind of had to skip out on, and that was just a scheduling issue. So shouldn't be an issue. Overall, great week of work, and I'm excited to see what we can continue to build. Thank you all for swinging by. As always, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and until next time, happy lifting.